All right. Welcome back. Hello. Hope you're well. Another week and more Haskell awesomeness to be had. I'm gonna turn down my local levels here, my moderate levels. And here we go. I'm probably gonna continue working on the adventure engine this week, actually. Yeah, so let's get to it and look at our to-dos. So last week, we made some progress on the parser. And I think we finished rooms, if I'm not mistaken. So we look at the data, we look at the example adventure, and our world.txt. This is what we're parsing. So you have this section header for rooms, and a room definition comprises this block up until this next title block here, right? And these little dash things, they can be one or more different properties that need to be specified. For things like exits and objects that are in the room, background images. Optionally, if there's a dig, this was the tricky one we did, but we managed, and we got it done. And yeah. So I think it's time to move on to parsing another section. And I think the one that will probably make the most sense would be to do exits. So these need to connect up the different rooms that they're attached to, and possibly define locks on them, if there are any locks. And that would probably be about the minimum amount of data we need to supply to the engine to get a basic thing going. We might need a few meta properties like which room the user should be started in, the player room, the initial player room, that kind of thing. But I think that'll be pretty close to the minimum viable world definition for our game engine, which will be pretty neat to see this start to come together. So, without further ado, let's get started. Let's open up the parser code that's in source maker parser. There's our room parser. Super handy dandy. Here's our world.txt on the right that we're going to be parsing. And now I want to be able to do exits. So I want to have a room section parser. I want to have an exit section parser as well. And we're going to need the entity IDs of the exits and the exit itself. And once we get this section done, I think we can also take a stab at the validation part of the parser, which I'll get to in a second. I'm just going to write this out here. Exits, I'll probably capitalize that. Exit parser. And then it'll be terminated by either a new line or the end of file. All right, of course, our new error is that we have no exit parser. So we can go maybe define that here for some reason. And that has to parse and exit. I'll leave it undefined for now. And what's the problem here? Oh, right, this has to, the exit parser's type has to be this tuple entity ID of exit and the exit. Now that all type checks, and that's good. Okay. So the last step of validating this file too, right? The validation step that I'd mentioned. Yeah, I minimized that by accident because I lost my home row. Is if we look at the file, right? We have all these IDs floating around that we're asking the user to write out. And the users are writing out these IDs, so they're the ones who are kind of like inputting the IDs and trying to keep track of them. I'm not sure if this is the best approach for this tool, but the reason for that is to disambiguate things. Right, we have this naming problem with this file where I want to be able to have this name of an exit, this way to refer to the exit syntactically in the file, front door. But as this particular front door, there might be many front doors, but this one is the one that is in the main hall. Right, and so we need a way to refer to it unambiguously. All right, so we're asking the user to give us the ID to disambiguate it, to make it clear that this is the front door in the main hall. And my thinking on this is that this might be like a pain in the butt for the author to do. I don't know. Well, I'll have to get some feedback on it and use it myself and get mad at it to want to try and try a different approach. But for now, hopefully it'll be good enough. And the idea is that we'll throw a parse error if you use these IDs in a way that doesn't make sense. So once we're finished parsing the file, we also have to verify or validate that what we parsed makes sense. Right, so we have to make sure that this exit ID right here, 2, actually exists in the database after we're done parsing this file. While we're parsing the file, we're moving through it, we don't know, which is why we have the entity ref idea here in the parser itself, right? The idea with the entity ref is that like it's a reference, we'll eventually resolve it. We just want to keep track of the fact that it is an ID. It's just a reference to a potentially valid ID. Right. It's a reference the user made. But once we're done parsing, we should be left with entity IDs. Right. That is the goal. And hopefully, if all works out well and good, I don't know how I'm going to do this exactly, but we should get parse errors that say like, okay, this, and point back into the file where this reference wasn't used properly. And that's going to be, I think, the trickier part to all of this. So I might need to, I think in order to make that work, I might need to expand the idea of the entity ref to keep its state where we found it in which part of the file, so that like keep some of the parse state in it as well. So that at the later stage when I do the validation, we can just tell parsec to throw this error and just throw that, render that that error in there with the location information where the reference was found originally. So anyways, I'm getting a little ahead on that. Just kind of sneak peeking how we're going to handle this. Let's get to the exit parsing. So the exits. Let's look at the data structure. That's in the engine. Engine, objects, exit, here. So we need to parse out a name, a description, the room IDs that it attaches to. So the exit from is one side of the exit, and the exit to is the other side. From and to is just convention, right? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a way for us to separate the two sides of the exit. And the exit potentially lock is an optional thing you can define. So like I did with the room parser originally, we'll just ignore the locks for now and just hard code it as nothing until I get to parsing logs, which has a bit of stuff to it. So let's get to our exit parser, which was previously undefined. And how do we want the syntax to work? I'll keep that up here. We'll jump down here. We'll bring our world.txt back up. Similar, probably a similar-ish syntax to rooms, maybe? Like a title. And this will be the room ID. Or the exit ID, sorry. The exit name. All right, and so the idea with the references too is that the number, the exit ID is going to match, and the name. All right, so this might be a lot to put on our authors, but well, hopefully it'll be okay. Okay, so front door, standard, cheap looking front door. It is painted a wicked shade of red. Super. And then our delimiter again to kind of cut off the text for the description. And I will do from. And then we can do an entity ref for the rooms. So the front door, let's see, in our imaginary one is going to connect the front porch to the main hall. So this ref should actually be one.front door. And we'll go one the front porch. Two to the main hall. And we'll worry about locks later. All right, that's a fair bit of stuff. Fortunately, we have a lot of the infrastructure for parsing most of this, I think, from doing the room. Or at least we'll start writing it out and abstracting out some of the room stuff into subparsers, which is kind of what happens as you find patterns to these things. Ah, yes, we introduced parsing state. So actually, we might be able to resolve refs as we go, maybe. If we can possibly resolve refs. Because we do this here for room IDs to check room IDs must be unique, right? That's kind of neat. We can do the same thing for exits and all that stuff too. So the first part is to get that maker state out. Maker parse state. Now, maker parse state just has the same room entity IDs. We're going to need this. We're going to need to expand this for exits. So I'm going to pull this over a little bit. Make this a data type. And scene exit entity IDs. Set of entity ID of exit. Cool. So we might need to update the initialization of that here with another s.empty. Yeah, that'll be good. And then back to our hole. Okay. Cool. then what? We get the almost copying this bit for bit, which makes me feel like I'm going to abstract this out, but I'm just going to copy it for now. Space 1, exit ID. When the exit ID is already a member of the scene, exit entity IDs, then we fail. Otherwise, we continue. And probably check on you, chat. What's going on? Where are we? Where are we? There we are. Okay, okay. Well, if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, so then we fail. Otherwise, we put this scene room entity ID in our parser state, our exit IDs. And so the exit name. Non-empty line parser. And the exit description. Yeah, I'm going to follow the convention established in the room parser just to keep the similarities close if there's a way to pull something out of this, a pattern. It'll just make it easier. So exit description lines is going to be the many-till. We're going to use the line parser, and we hit a single octothorpe hash. And then we throw away a new line after that. We start the property lists. Or the properties. Now the exit from and exit tos aren't lists. So we kind of we didn't really have like a generic thing for that. We kind of just wrote the background image parser direct. So I'll just like exit from parser. Or on that side, like that. Exit to. And I'll just pretend that those exist for now. And then we have everything we need to construct that room record. So we just return pure exit. And this should have the exit name. Exit text. Text we have to compose. Actually, let's use the keeping with my previous advice, use the record syntax. And I did I let bound this. I don't know how I want to format this. Maybe just like that. There we go. Okay. Exit name. Description. from to hopefully. Oh, did I lose my internet connection? Sorry if I did. Okay, well, we're back. Exit 2 and exit lock. I'm just going to hardcode as nothing. I know what that value is going to be. So this is going to be exit name. We're going to strip. We're going to concatenate together lines. And that's going to be exit desk lines. Exit from. And exit to. And if that works, then we return the exit ID and exit. And then we just have to fill in exit from parser and exit to parser. We have a parser of text, I believe. No, exit parser of entity ID room. Okay. So it's going to be the string. You have to put in dash dash from colon base. And then we want the entity ref parser, or entity ID parser. And the new line maybe is what we want to consume. Yeah. Sorry, room ID. Entity ID parser of room. And new line. Then pure room ID. Exit 2 parser is pretty much the same. Except it's the labels too. Right, so already some duplication, the linter's picking up on that, so we'll probably have to fix that just quickly. Some hydration. Right, so not like a property list parser, but like a single property parser. I don't have one yet. Cool. So we'll write that here. Property parser. Text for the label. Parser of A. Returning parser of A. Label P. Right, so we do the I'll just jump up to here. Copy this. And jump back down here, paste it in here. And we'll just replace this with the label This with T. And I think that'll work. What's the problem? What's the problem here? What's that? Perhaps. Ooh, I've actually declared this. Where did I? Oh, oops. Okay, I'm a misnomer, I'd say. Okay, so I'm just gonna yank this for now into my buffer. I'm just gonna rename this. So, actually, I already have this. Oh, a bunch of this here. Now, I'm going to commit what we have here so far, as long as it compiles just fine. And I'll do the other change, the rename in a separate commit, just to make it a little cleaner. Yes, we just have warnings, some duplication. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so the new lines should have a void on them. Okay, then we just have the duplication warning, that's fine. Okay. Mark it as work in progress. Add the exit parser to maker. Okay, let's do that other bit here where we rename property parser to property list parser. It's probably better. So I'm gonna maybe just do a global replace. I think it's the only file it's in. I'm gonna replace it with property list parser. And that also does property list parser. Hopefully this all compiles still. And we'll just get that running quickly. Yep. Okay, so that rename was successful. And so we'll commit that. Rename property parser to property what would we call it? Okay. That's good. And now I can reintroduce my property parser. I'll put it right here, say. That's good. And now we can reduce the duplication. here by just getting rid of these. It's not quite right, but I'm going to just get rid of these first. And then I'm going to use property parser. I want to be able to specify this is from. Hopefully you can see why this isn't going to quite work right, but it's easy fix. And we need to specify the parser we want to use. That's going to be entity ID parser for room. TID. Yeah, and we got to fix this down here. So our property parser, I want to consume the string -- space up to the, and then the label itself. Followed by single property label parser, basically. That's what we want there. Yep. And we just parse a single thing from it, consume the new line, and return the property. Yes, that's what we want there. And then we have another duplication thing, so we kind of saw that coming. This part here, or at least this part-ish, is similar to the part exit parser that we could probably clean up, but I'm not going to worry about that right now until a separate change. So that's good enough, I think. Yeah. Okay, so exit property parsers. Cool. Super. So we should be able to squash that all down into just reword this one. Yeah. To add the exit parser. You can now hopefully it actually works. I haven't touched it out, so we won't push it just yet. Exit definition. Rename property to property list parser. Add a property parser. Okay, cool. There. Okay, so we have the exit parser, we have the exit section parser, we have let's just bring up world.txt here. We have exits. One exit defined. So I think if we run this, I think it'll actually parse. I think it'll work right off the bat. Let's test it out. All right, our is a maker. We point it to our data directory. I'm not in the right. Oh, I forgot the name of the thing because I'm awesome. Maker exe? Did I still name it that? No, I called it Adventure Dash Maker because I'm super smart. Okay, I mean, it seemed to kind of work. I'm going to pop up here as I like using this shell better when I have to use a shell. We'll go to, so that props it into data. We're going to plop over to build. Unzip game.zip. We'll replace that, yeah. Check out world.json, what got generated. Okay, still have an empty list of exits. Which means I'm probably just not hooking it up to the part that generates this file. So even though we're parsing it successfully, might just not be outputting it. So let's go do that. Source maker.hs. All right, so when we run this, we get the args, we process the path. On the path, we get a file path, world.txt, right? Read the world.txt file. Run the world parser. We get the world data, we encode that. Oh, okay. Right. So in our parser, that's our run maker parser there. And it's going to run the world parser, if I'm not mistaken. Line parser, engine ID parser, room parser, image parser, exit parser, sections, room sections, exit, world parser. There we are. All right, yeah, so it's just running the room section parser. We didn't actually add the exit. World exits. Exit section parser. Okay, so we're going to have to retry this test here. I'm going to jump back up 1, 2, 3 to my root. It's built. And we'll run it. So stack adventure maker build our data example adventure. Okay, still work. Ran successfully at least. Jump back over. Jump to world.json. Doesn't look like that reloaded. There we go. JSON, pretty. Okay, let's see, huh? Exit, no, exits is still not there. What rooms is? I'm gonna get rid of world.json. Rm the game.zip. I just want to be super triple double mega ultra sure. Pretty sure it didn't work right, but it's probably something silly. Yeah, it doesn't look like it did. Okay. All right, so what's going on here? Oh, didn't add it to the record. We're parsing it, but we didn't add it to the record. That's what it is. We're not using it. And even we're getting this type error that we didn't use it, right? So it's this function still can't be right yet. We haven't used world exits or explicitly ignored it. World exits. We want m.from list because this needs to be a map. Okay. Now that compiles. And we can jump over, rebuild this, unzip it. Yeah, just replace it. I think it worked this time. It did not. This I do not appreciate. Hmm. Why did it not work? And it didn't throw an error. Well, one thing that's different is we haven't encountered multiple sections. This is probably where we're having difficulties here with this with the world parser now. So the world exits parser, let's see, has to have a hash. The exit parser has to have a hash. And the exit section parser has to start with a single opening brace. So if that opening brace wasn't there, when we go to run the exit section parser, this would give us a parse error. All right, so the room section parser ought to be getting to here, at least. And this is running, but maybe not getting the whole exit. Maybe this? Let's rebuild. Oh, we don't need to rebuild. Right, we just changed the text file. Let's rerun it again. Okay, so that fails there. Okay. Awesome. All right. So yeah, it wasn't getting RP, so it was just hitting the end and going, okay, I'm done. All right. What was happening, and the reason why this is triggering an error now is because when I had it like this, right, the section parser is getting all of this. Right, it's getting the single open brace, it's getting the section name, it's getting closed brace, it's getting the new line. Boop. And then it's doing sep end by, P and sep. Well, P is on a blank new line right now. All right, so P is starting there. What is P? P is our exit parser. Our exit parser is starting with looking for a single, this character. It's not there. P fails. So that doesn't fail the whole parse though. That doesn't give us a parse error, right? Sep end by. P fails. It's okay. It's just the empty list. 0 or more. So that still makes 0. So then it returns the empty list for exit section parser. And so I assume our state will be like here. And then there'll still be some bytes to consume, but we haven't consumed all the way to the end. So I think that's why that was working. And then when we move it up to here, now the state is, okay, there's the hash character I'm looking for. The octothorpe, if you will. And yeah, now it's failing over here. Because it's consuming all of this, which is great. It's failing over here. On our hot new property parser. So property label parser. It consumes the dash dash, consumes the label we give it, a colon, and the H space. So it should be one or more spaces. And then we give it, it's going to try, so it should consume here. That is the string, the label, which we said was from the colon character, and some number of horizontal spaces. There. So this character is just in front. The open parenthesis. Now, our parse error, unexpected open parenthesis. I wasn't expecting that to be there. I was looking for a dot, a digit, or some white space. What could that mean? Entity ref parser, let's look at you. You are supposed to be looking for an open parenthesis. Did we not give you the entity ref parser? We gave you the entity ID parser. That's our mistake right there. Right, and now we're getting a type error because we're parsing entity refs here. We have to convert these to entity IDs. Now here's an interesting thing. Because of the way we're structuring the world parser here, we're explicitly doing the world rooms first. So when we run the world exits, we already know all the rooms for the world should be defined. We could validate here that those references make sense. That's a possibility, right? That's a thing we can do in this function here. We have the state, S, the maker parse state that has the map, or the set of tuples, of entity IDs and room IDs. We could check it here. Do we want to couple the ordering of these sections to the file? I'm kind of on the fence about whether we should do that. I kind of want to say it shouldn't matter what order you put them in, and you should be able to put them in any order that is convenient to you. And that ultimately world parser should have just sections parser. We just tell it which sections to do. But this is pretty convenient. I'm not going to get too hung up on it. Let's put it in our to-do file as something to mess around with. I'll put the tag experiment. I don't know why I don't have that tag there, but not the tag I want. Get rid of you. Okay, we'll try that. Try validating room IDs in the exit section parser. We'll try that in a different pass. So for now, let's convert these to entity IDs. Sort of like how we do it for thing. We have the entity ref to. Oh, do I have an entity ref to entity ID function? Well, we kind of manually convert them in a couple of special places, right? Which isn't so bad. We kind of want to do that here. So I can explode entity from, exit from. To exit from ID and exit from. Wait. Hang on a second. Exit. Okay, let's just ignore those. Are they the right type? Those are the right types. Okay, cool. It all lines up. As it should. And it builds. Okay. So that's good, and that should, that does compile. So let's give it a shot. I think this will work properly now. Unzip the file, replace it, and open that world.json. Oh, there we go. And there's our exit. Parsed out. Super duper. Okay, let's just review this quickly. Yeah. And that. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, okay. So we'll commit those. Let's just stage those. Yes. Okay. No, I don't want to save that. Okay, so this will be what? No, stop asking me that. Yeah. And this. Okay. I'm gonna rebase that one into the other because it probably should have been part of the original change. Okay. Cool. Boom. We can now parse rooms and exits from the same file. Boy, what to do next? Well, do you have any opinions, stream? Should we try experimenting and messing around while we're here with potentially validating the room IDs as we parse the exit section? I think so. Why not? Okay, so if we're gonna do this, let's create a branch. I'll push this up to master first. Okay, we'll create a new branch off of master. Experiment, incremental validation. We'll call it that. Okay. So in our parser, when we're parsing the exits, because exit parser comes after rooms parser, as we discovered, this parse state has a non-empty list of rooms. Should have a non-empty list of rooms. However, actually, it might not be non-empty. So we should not assume that because the section parser can return 0 or more. So if a totally valid file to parse would be just the two sections that are completely empty. Nothing in them. Right, if we go exits and rooms, this would be a perfectly valid file. And I don't think the tool will complain about that. Oh, it will. It won't complain about that. And all we get as a result of it doing this is a valid world.json, just empty lists, I think, will probably be the thing, unsurprisingly. Yeah, so empty rooms, empty exits. So not terribly surprising there. All right, so we can't depend on the room. All I'm saying is we can't depend on the room's list being or set in the parse state being non-empty. But we can still validate if we do have exits that those rooms exist when we're referencing them here, the exit ID from and to. I just want to check actually editing graph. Oh, right, the name. Sometimes we need the name. That's right. That's what the second part is. Which we didn't need when we're here making the exit. We just needed the IDs. Okay. So, if we were going to fail the parse on this, we just need to add the checks. All right. So, we can use when. And so when takes something that's true. So unless is probably the opposite of that. So unless the exit from ID is a little misleading. From room ID. So unless the exit from room ID is a member of this set of scene room entity IDs, then something. And that something will just be fail. All right, so fail. I don't know. A good error message here could be exit from room ID does not exist, is not defined, does not exist. Probably not the best. Let's just test with this. Check it out. See if it works. So that rebuilds. We'll update the world.txt. So right now, if we parse this file, we parse this exits section, from points to the front porch. That should be fine. All right, if we change it to the front porch, I have a feeling this will pass and it should be wrong. So let me just change it to to make sure that we can hit this failed condition, and I'll get to that other part in a second. So if I run this parse here with just one, it'll pass like before and it'll work. All right, and just to run through the whole rigmarole, place that and just check world.json. Right, we can see that it parsed everything, right? The exit and all that. But if we change world.txt to be non-existent room ID, so room ID we haven't parsed at this juncture. we should get a parse error. Jump back over, run the program. There we go. It's not reporting the right line, though. That's kind of confusing. Hmm. Yeah, that's not reporting the right line. I don't like that. However, at least the error works. Yeesh, okay. It's because we've already consumed this input. Without failing. That's why. All right, so it's consumed this successfully. It's parsed it, which means our parse state is now on the next line, the beginning of the next line. And that's where we're failing from. So I wonder if there's a way for us to back up the parser, the parse state, only in this case, so the parse state is on the right line where the error actually occurred. Or if there's a better way to do that. Mega parsec. This is the library we're using for parsing. And let's see, maybe it's in the main package. So there's the state position. Can I manipulate that? Parse test, run parser. It's running, that's fine. Stop parsing and report the parser. This is the only way to control position of the error without manipulating the parser state manually. No, tokens, take while, no, take. Update parser state. I guess that's where we can manually update the parser state. It'd be nice if there's like a rewind a line or something like that to help with doing this kind of thing. But, that might be our only way of doing this, I guess, perhaps. So let's see. Okay, so parse failure. We get fancy failure, stop parsing, and report a fancy parse error. Unexpected. Unexpected takes an error item, token S, and an MA. No, I don't think that's quite what we're looking for there. Registering failures, parse errors. So register a parse error for later reporting. This action does not end parsing. It has no effect except for adding the given parse error to the collection of delayed parse errors, which will be taken into consideration at the end of parsing. Only if this collection is empty, the parser will succeed. This is the main way to report several parse errors at once. Okay. So we could, that's interesting. So we could register more than one parse error so that we don't end parsing at the first failure with these. We still need to register, like, I guess with that, this where the error occurred in the stream. So we still need to get the parse state, what line we're on, which is super fun, I guess. Parse state combinators. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, well, okay. Okay. Source position. It's not cheap to do it. It's okay. Well, in this, if we're going to fail first, maybe not so bad. Hmm. Yeah, and then set parser state, update parser state. Okay. Well, I guess maybe update parser state's what we're going to do. So we get the state. Offset is an int. Pause state. Is probably what we want to manipulate in it. Hmm. Or maybe there's a way we can do this with try. Because then it backtracks the parser state and we can fail. Let's use that. Okay. So instead of just pure unless, I'm thinking what we do is we go exit from room ID. We find the entity ref here. I'll just use a little short name. Or maybe I'll just do room ID or whatever. And we'll do our check here. Unless room ID is the s dot member. Seeing room entity IDs. Does it type check? No. Oh, we can get rid of that. Why is that upset with me? Oh, because I didn't return. Yeah, so then pure room ID. That's why. Okay. Compiles, types checks. Let's see if it actually works. Better. Now it's at least on the right line. The parse state's at the end of this parser, but it's pretty good. Okay, so let's make this like a slightly better error message and do the same for the other one. So fail room from room ID is not defined. That should be somewhat reasonable. Check the rooms section. Okay, a little helpful hint, maybe, hopefully. Okay, so, yeah, I like it. That's a little, that works. Okay-ish. Do the same for here. Try here. And I'll just grab all that. Place it there, and yeah, the error message works kind of the same. This binding has to change to room 2, exit 2, room ID. That's good. These, we can combine them into a single one, so a little put it down here. I think I'll just take the whole expression. Replace that with label. Otherwise, pure room ID. And this one could be exit ref parser from. It doesn't have scene room entity IDs in scope here, though, in this where block. So we could just pass it in explicitly. And there we go. So the question becomes, no, I mean, it works, right? What was the other part we need to work on here for this? All right, so it should still succeed. It does still succeed for this one, right? If we put a nonsense one in there, we get the right error on the right line for both of these. Because these are the same code. So that should cover that. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm satisfied with that. Yeah. Oh, there was one other thing though that kind of might not work. All right. The room 2 we called the main hall. Right. But text, we're only checking this ID here when we do the validation. So this will still pass even though it refers to the main hall, even though because this label is not used, it's meaningless, at least as far as the code we've written is concerned. So our data will be wrong here, even though it's right. It looks wrong. Right? It's unexpected. Yes, if I run that, like, it runs fine. And if I change over this, unzip the file, and look at the data, you'll see what I mean. So pretty print this. All right, so entity ID 2 here. All right, well, ultimately, once it gets loaded into the game engine, refer to this room up here, the main hall. All right, not the front porch. Right, and in the source text for this, as we're typing away and developing our game here, we're writing the front porch. So we probably meant the front porch and mistyped the ID, or we typed the right ID, but we forgot we actually did mean the main hall, and you know, we got one of the two parts mixed up. All right, so we should probably correct that. Okay. So I'm gonna commit this on our branch, what we have so far. Modulo this, I'll just get rid of that. Just the code there. So add exit room ID validation to exit parser. Check that the room ID entity ID is an ID we've parsed already in the room section. If it isn't, we fail the parse with a handy error message. Okay. Now, we need to fix the other part of this. So that's going to involve updating our parser state. So instead of just the set of entity IDs of the rooms, we're going to have to keep the names with them. So this should be entity refs. All right, this is going to cause some parse issues, or type errors, which we can just go fix here. Let's see. To fix this one, we only use room ID here for scene. So we can probably safely change this to room ref. Use the entity ref parser. If the room ref is a member of this, that should get rid of that type error. Then room ref is inserted into the scene entity IDs. And then let's just make that less confusing and make this refs. Okay, and similar transformation down here. Exit refs. And here. So the only time we do use exit ID in this one. What? Oh, and the room ID in that one too. Okay. So we do need the room ref part of that, which is fine. Entity ref, entity ID, I think is the function. Let's change that to ref. And same for here. Yeah, I think that'll get rid of all the... Are we typed correct yet? We fixed? No, not quite. One more reference here. Yeah, actually they call it exit refs. That's fine. I'll just fix that to ref. Ah, I did it consistently over here with multi-point. Go me. And that is to be entity ref parser. Mm-hmm. All right, now to fix this part, entity room ref. And the exit. Yeah, we want this to be the room ID part. Entity ID. Oops, room ref. There we go. That should work. Almost, almost. Ooh, okay. So we can't do set membership on room refs. Because we need an ORD instance for entity ref, it looks like. So that should be pretty straightforward to add. That's because the ORD, the set is based off of ORD maps probably, or maps which also require ORDs on their an ORD instance on their keys. It'd be different if it was a hash set, I suppose. So there you go. Perfect. Wonderful, delightful. And now that problem, I think, should go away. So we go to world.text and we try to do 2 dot the front porch. Now we should get an error if we try this, whereas before we didn't, right? Bounce back over here. We're on our thing on our directory. All right, now we get an error here. Let's see, unexpected 1. Ooh, that's not the error I was thinking of. A line 2. That's definitely not the error I was thinking we would hit. Must have really, really changed something unintentional here. Oh, yes, the ref entity ref parser. Yes, we did. This change wasn't good. The entity ref parser is not what we wanted to do, because remember that syntactically uses the parentheses around it. Okay, that should be a pretty straightforward thing to fix before we get here. So let's start with room parser. I'm going to change that back to an room ID and the entity ID parser. And we'll just construct the room. We'll have to get the room name first. And then we can construct a room ref from that. Okay. And we'll do the same for exit parser. And now, like, I'm really noticing, because the code duplication, we have to make similar changes in 2 spots. Obviously, we should do a little refactor pass once we get this working, maybe. So, let's see. Turn you back to an exit ID. Entity ID parser. Bring the exit name up here. Let the exit ref equal entity ref of the exit ID and the exit name. Yes. Okay. So now we should see the actual parse error that we wanted to see, which is room ID is not defined. Check the room section. All right, it could, and so when the user, we could maybe even detect what part of it is wrong with this ref, maybe. That would be pretty fancy. We could build a better error message here, because we have a fair bit more information that we need, right? However, this is a good start. Okay, so we don't have 2 dot the front porch defined. We have 1 dot the front porch. All right, so we go and fix that. We run it. Ooh. Ooh. Aha. I did expect this to pass. It did not. Hmm. Interesting. Why? Why? One, the front porch should be there. Let's look at the code in the parser. Okay, so when we get the room ID, we take the digits up until the dot, consuming the dot, and we return the digits read. The room name is a non-empty line parser. Ah, so the entity ref is probably containing the spaces before, between the dot and the rest. So we put an H space in here. That might fix that. There we go. And just to double check, let's just unzip that. And we'll open world.json. Okay, cool. Looks like it was fine and did what we does what we expected to. Okay, so we get entity ID 1. That's right, the front door. The right exit name and everything. Ooh. This isn't right, though. We'll slight bug in the way we concatenate together the descriptions here. Anywho's, that part works. So that's the change I wanted to make. Yeah, okay. Let's commit that. Looks good. And, yeah. This change will be, when applied, this will validate entity ref in the exit parser. So we parse the entity ref of the rooms and exits when validating room ref. We check the entity ID and the name together. This makes the error reporting a little better. Cool. I kind of like it. It does like kind of make the coupling between the two parsers tight, the order dependent. But they are like subparsers of world, so that is pretty explicit. It might not be super obvious to maintainers until like they kind of see that this goes on. So we might want to have like some documentation in our code to make that clearer, I guess. But yeah, because the other way I was thinking about doing it would be that we parse all of these things and we parse them regardless of order. So instead of like explicitly running the room section parser, then the exit section parser, we have a sections parser that gets all of them, all of the sections that we need to construct a room. So that'd be the rooms, objects, exits, right, and maybe a metadata for the rest of these fields. Verbs. We'd need inventory section, and then yeah, a metadata one for the player room, and we can leave messages empty. We don't need the author to define that. That's kind of a runtime thing. So maybe that's a wrong place for it, but anyhoozle, beyond. Anyways, the idea would be that we would collect all of these things together and validate them in a separate pass, like an action here. Validate the world or whatever. Right, so we construct the world, we validate it, and then we throw errors there. But then I think the problem with that is that our error reporting is very far removed from what we've parsed, the parse state. All right, so I kind of like this because now the error reporting is pretty close to the parse state. So we, as soon as we encounter a problem with the file, we have the chance to say like, okay, you know, this room ID is defined in this exit property here is not, isn't valid, right? You haven't defined this room in your file. So that's nice. And I don't know if there would be a way to do it in kind of like the decoupled way so that we can not have the exit parser know anything about the room's ID and all that sort of things. It just has to know about it and add its own IDs to the database, the parser state. It doesn't have to check the other bits of the parser state. And so if we wanted to reorder them or make it ordered independent in the file, you can do that, but now the order is dependent in the file. So the author has to write specifically a room section first before the exit section. So that's a bit of a trade-off there. Yeah, so, but I kind of like it. So I might keep it. And that means I'm going to push up this branch because we're out of time here. There we go. And maybe we'll continue working on this and see if like we like the next section. And if it just makes sense, I'll commit to it and we'll commit it to master after seeing another example and maybe doing some refactoring here. Yeah. So if you are just tuning in for the first time and want to check out this code, it's available on GitHub under Agent Ultra. That's me, your fine host. It's Adventure Engine is the project here. Okay. So there's a cool branch of what we're just working on. This is the project. You can fork it, check it out, do whatever. And I usually do these streams once a week on Tuesday evenings. So if you like what you saw tonight, either follow me here on the Twitches, and you will get notifications of when I go live. And if you're following me on YouTube, you know what to do there so that you get notifications when I post a new video in this series. And I'm also on the Twitters and the Mastodons as Agents Ultra as well. So you can follow me there for updates. And if you go to declarative.tv, you can find a cool Discord channel where we can chat about the project or your projects. And you'll find lots of other cool streamers as well who are doing declarative programming languages, functional programming languages, that kind of thing. So check out declarative.tv as well. Super fun peeps streaming there. So yeah, I'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in. May all your monads be free. May your types always check. And happy hacking out there.